Hey everyone, this is Ultra Runner. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to just talk to you guys about collecting. I did this for my for Hot Toys, and I want to do the same thing for Transformers. Just want to know, is this the best time to be a Transformers collector? And just looking from the aspect of what we've received, and the offerings out there, whether it's official Hasbro or third party, if you're into Masterpiece or Legend Scale, we've gotten some of the best representative of our favorite, Transformers growing up. And whether you're a G1er or you're into Armada, animated, whatever the case may be, just a ton of great offerings. And if you look at just a few years ago, you didn't have that many offerings for a lot of the figures we like, and something that's really representative of what you would think that you want to spend money on. We look at like the old G1 toys, which were, basically toys. Didn't look much like the characters on television. And now you've got, characters like DevCon, figures that they made that look just like DevCon from the show. You got Gears, and some of these figures are just like the best they've ever been as far as articulation, not paint, because very few of them have paint, but just overall functionality, alt mode looks, the whole nine. And then of course you have offerings like from Blockies and 3.0, YOLO part. If you're looking for something that doesn't transform, it gives you even more accuracy to the robot mode. So with the ton of selections we have, you don't really have an issue. Is really no reason to say, okay, I can't find what I'm looking for. The question is, can you find what you're looking for in the size and style you want? So for me, I would say it's a little bit of combination of both. If I'm gonna look at just pure, let's just look at pure Hasbro for right now. You've got, scaling right now is kind of a little weird, but I'm not a big scaling person, so long as they're relatively close. If Thundercracker was 2 heads taller than that, I wouldn't have an issue with it. Should Megatron be bigger than everybody else? To me, yeah. Maybe that's not right, as far as accuracy to the show, but I just felt like Megatron should have been the biggest guy, just like Optimus Prime. And I feel Ultra Magnus, who is huge, should be bigger than those guys. But that's just me, and that's just my personal look at it. But and of course, if I wanted something bigger, I could go with Masterpiece scale, whether it's Takara or it's someone else like Fans Toys, or if I wanted something smaller, you can go with Legend scale. So there's always alternatives to get you where you want to be. Just may not be in the brand that you like. The one thing I do like about what they've been doing lately, and whether it's intentional or not, at least from Hasbro, is they're making a figure and then they'll re-release it later on with better paint scheme or more accurate. Now, is that intentional? Probably. But what I'll definitely say is I don't have a problem with them going back to the drawing board like with Perceptor. The updated Perceptor is just visually stunning compared to the original one, and the original wasn't bad. I never looked at my original Perceptor and was like, oh, this guy is horrible. He just has some flaws, and they fix it with the retool. If you look at, some of the new offerings like the mini bots, Brawn and Windcharger, especially, I know everybody gives Gears his flowers, but, Gears is definitely a great example of them just going all in on, a character for like almost no reason, because Gears is not that essential to anybody's collection, I don't think, but they did such a great job with him. So many people are just raving about how great he was. So, but that aside, like I said, going back to something that's non-transformable, you've got puzzle pieces, I guess model kits, with like the YOLO Park and the Blockies. I think they've just done right now, as far as being a collector, there's so many different things that you can pick up. Probably the only kicker right now I'll say would be price, because price right now is kind of insane. I would definitely say, as someone who collects more expensive things than Transformers, Hasbro could have definitely done better on how they're pricing this stuff out. I think deluxe figures, being at the price they are, is kind of too high. And however you want to justify it, it is what it is. But I think about, but when you look at something small like this, like a Legends figure, this is the 6-shot by Magic Square. Well, this figure is $75. It's smaller than a deluxe. I mean, I'll literally put them next to. Grab him. I want to say smaller than a deluxe. He's about the same size as a deluxe, maybe a little taller. But look him next to Windcharger. They're both in kind of squatting poses. But he's not much bigger. But 6-shot is way more expensive. But you're also getting paint. You're getting better accuracy. Transformation is better. You don't have a lot of gaps. So, and it's unofficial. So, if it was official, I'm sure it'd be even more expensive than it is. But, I just wanted to kind of, see what you guys were thinking about, collecting Transformers right now. We look back at, I've been collecting off and on for a really long time, a couple decades at least, and I was, well, more than a couple decades, a few decades. And I'll definitely tell you, for instance, like the War for Cybertron, when these came out, I instantly fell in love with the Tetrajets, and I had to get those. So I don't have really anything else from the War for Cybertron series besides that and the Arc. It just wasn't a great show. I enjoyed it. They did their own spin on it, and I don't have a problem with people modifying it, because if I want to watch the original, I can just go back and watch the original. They can't take that away from me. So people getting upset about, oh, they changed this and they changed that, I don't think that really matters. That's just how it is progression for a new generation. But outside of that, most of my collection, I told you guys before, is all Studio Series 86, and I'm picking up at least one of everything that they dropped for it, other than the re-releases. So like, I'm not picking up the new Mortem Meets the Eye Scourge, because it's literally the exact same character or exact same figure, just in a Target box. And so I'm not doing that. But if it's, they drop a new colorway, like I say, like I have with Cup, I've got both versions of Cup that they've released. I've got both versions of Perceptor they've released. I even have the core class, Ironhide and Ratchet. So, right there. So I will pick up everything, just because that's the one line I decided to be a completionist on, regardless of what it looked like and what they did with it, just because it's what I want to do. I want to have one cohesive line, and then if they start to make modifications to it later, then hey, we'll jump into that and go that route as well. So, but again, if I think about what we have that we can pick up, there's just, Hasbro's really doing a great job. And as far as we're concerned, as far as I'm concerned, at least, as far as being a collector, if you want to pick up anything, there's really nothing that you can grab from that is total, trash. It's like, okay, why did I pick this up? It's really bad. Yes, that's leaving out SS86 Astro Train. We'll just, let that dude sit where he sits. But like I said, I'm going to get him. He's just going to be in train mode. He just will never be in in robot mode or shuttle mode for me, but I'm perfectly fine with that. I do have some in alt mode, and, if I have a duplicate, I'll typically do that. But outside of that, Dinobots are always in alt mode. That's just what they are. And then the sweeps are in their alt mode as well, because I have Scourge transform. So, but yeah, so just wanted to see what you guys' opinion on right now. We've getting with so much better molds. I think about this secret mold here, which I actually didn't mind. I didn't really like all the reblend on it, but it wasn't something like I was like, okay, I'm never gonna buy this. I didn't mind it at all. Now, do I prefer the new look? Of course, that's not an issue at all. Is he too big? Some people think he is. I don't really think he is. I mean, he could have been the same size. It wouldn't bother me, not at all. And so, but yeah, so it's just one of those things where I think it comes to personal opinion, but and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you think about, Transformers collecting right now. Are you guys switching out um, your collections and picking up some of this newer stuff, or are you guys just supplementing your existing collection with just picking up a few pieces here and there? This is this is the best time to be a collector, or is this no different than any other time we've been in collecting? Share your thoughts and comments below. Thanks so much for checking it out. Later.